cricketer, graphic designer, mechanical engineer, risk consultant. I feel at all these. Yes, I'm a product designer at the age of 23 in a fintech. My name is Som, and here's my story. It took me 3 months, and I'll tell you the top three mistakes that I made so you don't have to. So, this is the story of most Indians, right? We are either told to become a doctor or an engineer, and anything else feels too risky. When I was a kid, I wanted to become a cricketer. I would daydream of being the next Yuvraj Singh and hitting those next sixes, but that never happened. My parents asked me to focus on my studies, and becoming a cricketer just remained a dream. After my 10th, I had to decide now either become an engineer or a doctor. I didn't like seeing blood and hurting people, so I took up engineering. I got into CS in my 11th and 12th. I was pretty decent at coding, but I thought I was super cool to be a nerd. I never really studied and ended up getting pretty average grades in my board and entrance exams. This meant that CS in any top colleges of Bangalore or elsewhere was out of options. But I badly wanted to get into a good college. I had to choose between any of the other branches of engineering, and I chose mechanical. And at the time, it seemed like a pretty cool option. My first year in college went in a jiffy. I didn't know what I was doing. In my second year, I wanted to do something. So I went ahead and joined the off-roading club of my college. I built cars, I got to participate in national level competitions, and it was a pretty cool time. But over time, I realized that mechanical itself wasn't for me. I wanted to do something else. I used to handle the finances for my team and also used to help my dad with his office. So I thought business would suit me. And I started preparing for CAT. Don't ever ask me how that exam went. Coming back to my college, placements had started from August, but because of my low GPA, I was barely clearing any cutoff. For the exams that didn't have cutoff, I was not able to clear the aptitude exam. This was by far one of the worst periods of my life. It was COVID, and I felt like nothing was in my control. I was so clueless about my future. Anyways, from August to Jan, I kept upskilling myself and kept telling myself that something will work out, just keep trying. And in Jan, I did get an opportunity at EY. I got a full-time opportunity as well as an internship along with it. I was finally excited. It didn't feel like I was a failure anymore. It also felt good to earn your own money. But during my internship, I realized that consulting wasn't for me. The lifestyle was pretty great, but the work didn't interest me at all. I started to introspect as to what I can do in my life. It was time for some intense soul searching. At first, I thought I'll go back into coding and become a developer, but I struggled to learn it as fast as I wanted to. And 2 months down the line, I realized that I had to introspect again. Ever since I was a kid, I've been either creating or editing in some form of the other, something artsy, be it in school, college, or even office. In fact, in EY, my colleagues and seniors used to call me the PPT guy because I was able to create some really cool text. That was when I told myself, so, what other sign do you need? But you see, this wasn't something I had never thought of before. Problem was always that I was creatively good, but not good enough that I could pull it off as a career. That's imposter syndrome max. But I had to make up my mind this time. It was now or never. Around the same time, I got to know what UX or product design was. And this seemed perfect. You see, I was never creatively good enough to be a graphic designer and never analytical enough to be a coder. This seemed like a perfect combination of both, and I loved it. I gave myself around 3 months to learn the skill and find a job. I started building my portfolio after my work hours and slowly developed my design skills. I started applying on job portals and I thought I would get the opportunities easily. I had some graphic experience from internships and I had some exposure to coding as well from my college and school days. But guess what happened? I didn't. Competition felt fierce. It felt like everybody in the world wanted to be a UX designer at that point. And my portfolio wasn't great. Heck, it's still not great. This brings me to my first mistake. Don't wing it. Have a plan and set deadlines. 2 months had passed by and I had barely made any progress. So, out of pure Josh and the fear that if I stay here at EY any longer, I would always be here, I told my manager and my colleagues that I'm leaving. I didn't have an offer yet in my hand, yet I had the confidence in myself that I'll be able to pull this off. I was speaking to a few mentors around this time. I'll link the handles of these people down below. And these people encouraged me to take the step that I was taking and also boosted my morale. I had attended a few interviews by now through these job portals and I hated the whole experience. So I had to change my strategy and had to plan something new. Instead of applying to these random companies on these random job portals, I made a list of companies that I wanted to work in and started applying to those companies. I started to reach out to people who worked in those companies, and in the starting, I got barely any replies. So I started thinking to myself, I have a pretty decent portfolio by now. I've been reaching out to a lot of people, so why isn't anything working out? This brings me to my second mistake. Don't be like everybody else. Be a purple cow. Stand out. It's simple in theory, right? If you're like everybody else, it's hard for you to stand out. I had the same resume and portfolio that everybody else did. It was hard for me to get noticed. So I thought to myself, so what can you do differently? Around this time, in EY, I was day in, day out making PPTs for clients. So I thought I could do something along these lines. Upon some Googling, I found out that actually people had used this tactic. Listening to the words of Austin Kleon, I stole like an artist. Or rather, as I would want to tell, I remixed like a DJ. I made it as warm as possible. And this new resume actually did wonders for me. Let me know if you guys want to see it. I'll share it in the next video. Now, I was actually getting replies, but no successful offers yet. I remember in one of the calls I had with a mentor, I was told that I was too ambitious to become a product designer. It was a technical skill, and I was better suited in a product manager role. But I had made up my mind. It was going to be UX or nothing. That sounds like a jockey ad. Of all the companies that I'd applied to, Tickettape was one of them. This was peak-COVID and everybody was into finance. In fact, I'd applied to a small case, which used to be the parent company of Tickettape, and I'd gotten rejected before. But because of my new resume, I was actually able to get a reply back from them. This made me realize my third mistake. Everybody is bad at something, so go all in on your strength. I knew I had a lackluster portfolio and resume, but I had to showcase my strength, which was my attitude, and I was able to do this with my new resume. I got a reply from this guy called Neil, and he told me that they went through my resume and they were pretty impressed and they wanted to continue to the interviews. I was super excited. But there was a catch. I could only join them if I accepted a 6-month long internship. You see, at this point, I was working at EY full time and had already put down my papers. I was looking for a full time opportunity, so it wasn't an easy decision for me to take up an internship. Anyways, I still went ahead with it because I thought I was getting paid to learn and I had to learn the skills somewhere. And like Harshad Mehta once told, risk hai to ishq hai. The interview process went super well. There was an assignment and 2-3 rounds of interview. I cleared all of these and I got the opportunity to work finally. It's been a year now, and after showcasing my hard work and my talents, I got converted to a full-time role back in July. I've worked with some really cool people here and on some amazing projects, which I'll be showcasing in the future videos. And that's how I became a product designer, with no boot camps, no cohort courses, or formal design education. I was self-taught, and you might call it luck, but bear in mind, I did everything possible to get the opportunities that I got. And that's pretty much my entire journey, from how I was even too scared to even aspire to be a designer to actually being one. So I hope my story reminds you that you have everything that you need to start, and you'll never feel like you're ready. People will doubt you, but don't you dare doubt yourself. Have a plan, set deadlines, and go after it. Oh, and subscribe, and you'll get to see how to design a cool ass tech to get in one of the top fintech companies.